everybody. I am Sherry Reichert-Ballou, and I am a certified high performance coach and author of Say It Now. And I'm so happy to be talking to Michelle Vendelin, who is also a certified high performance coach, a meditation teacher, and an internal coach at an innovation. Is it an innovation company or department?
Yeah, it's the innovation hub for the cable wireless broadband industry. It's called Cable Labs. Yes.
Awesome. So you wear many hats, and the hat that you're wearing today that we're going to be talking about is uncertainty.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm
I
going
get to
to
wear
run over,
that hat a lot.
I'm going to run over and pop by to make sure this is all going okay in our Facebook group. While we're doing that, can you just say whatever you want to say to introduce this topic for us? Because I think such a necessary one right now.
Yes, absolutely. Over the last few years and maybe my entire life, I really have seen uncertainty as one of my master teachers. It has shown up in my life in extremes more recently. And from that, I've, gotten an opportunity to observe and learn and make my way and navigate through so much of it. And at this point, considering the fact that we're all experiencing what we would consider extreme uncertainty, I really love being able to talk to people about the experience, because sometimes actually speaking about uncertainty can be very vulnerable. It can feel really awkward. It can be very uncomfortable. And it can also be exhilarating and exciting and creative. And there's such a spectrum to it. And I'm just come to the realization more recently that it's time to have that dialogue.
Michelle, it just struck me when you were saying that how fear and excitement sometimes feel the same, that, it can be maybe the same with uncertainty and excitement. Do you think?
Yeah, I actually see them as part of, what I consider somewhat of an optical illusion that we all can see in any situation. There's always multiple truths. So you can look at a situation of uncertainty, kind of like, um, you know, you've now just got a lottery ticket, or you've gotten a present and you don't know what's inside of it, and so you have this excitement about what this might be, the anticipation, and so with that kind of uncertainty, the truth is something positive, right? But you can also experience uncertainty when you're waiting for a lab test, or to hear back from a loved one who is feeling ill, or wondering if your job is going to be there next week, or if that check from the government is going to show up, whatever, or that delivery from Whole Foods. So much uncertainty, right? At the same time, we might feel fear and begin to kind of close down within all of that. But at the same time, it's still uncertainty.
Yeah.
Either way, it's still uncertainty. And we have the opportunity to kind of ride through it, or, ride with it in different ways. So I think that that's something that's been kind of on my mind lately, for sure.
Well, yeah. And Michelle, I know, because we've had some previous conversations about this, that you've really been practicing some different things in your own life. And I totally agree with you right now. Like, you listed just a few things that could be on people's minds as far as different uncertainties. There are countless more. But yeah, maybe you could share from your own personal experience. What are some easy steps that people can take to start to even open up this conversation or to look at it for themselves?
Huh. Well, I think one of the first things that I began to practice when I was faced with a lot of uncertainty, with my health, with relationships, with my employment, with where I lived. I mean, so much has happened over the last couple of years. But what I would say that I think is really easy for folks is to think about uncertainty like you might think of the VIX, the volatility index in the stock market, right? Everybody's got an uncertainty index, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being like, oh my gosh, things are so uncertain. I'm almost stuck because I don't know which way to go and I feel so unclear and there's just nothing I can anchor myself to, right? Good
Yeah.
for good or bad. And then there could be the one where everything is so certain. And speaking of uncertainty, I don't know if you can hear it, but the train that goes by my townhouse has decided to
I
go
love
by
it.
right now.
I love
So,
it.
we might get that auditory entertainment, you know, within. It's good.
Perfect example, right?
A perfect example. And it'll probably be a really long train too. We'll see. Anyways, what I feel is, kind of an opportunity for us all is to just really understand where we are on that index. And I'm not saying one side of the index is better than the other, but just to know where we are on
Yeah.
that scale. Because even when it's a 1 and there's very little uncertainty in your life, that can be pretty stagnating, right? It can be kind of boring and a rut and too much certainty in life. But, if you can kind of say to yourself, yeah, I'm like in a 7 or an 8, there's, uncertainty in my work, there's uncertainty in my relationship, there's uncertainty in my health, there's uncertainty with the train schedule, whatever, whatever
Right.
it is for you, or for me, I just really try to stop for a moment and say, like, okay, where am I? And be okay with that. Um, and then to just really get in touch with whether or not, I'm in a place where my mindset might need a little bit of an adjustment. Because a lot of times our central nervous system will send us a bunch of thoughts about any uncertainty that we have, whether it's a good
Yeah.
uncertainty or a bad uncertainty. And, we're kind of preset for certain mindsets depending on how we were raised or what our social circle tends to
Right.
react with, or the latest movie we might have seen and seen a role model behave. And I think that if we can all sort of step back and think about what mindset we want to own in this situation, I think that can be pretty empowering because we don't always have to go with the very first mindset that sort of shows up in our head.
Oh,
I've gotten really good at sort of saying the first thing that pops into my head is information. It's a reactive response, a reaction to a situation, but it's
yeah.
not necessarily the only option or the only thing I should be paying attention to. It's information.
Michelle, I'm going to pause you because this is so big, what you're saying. It is, right?
Okay.
I think you know that because oftentimes I think what happens is something comes into our head and unless we're pausing or stopping or reflecting or, thinking about it, it's kind of like, oh, that's what's true. So I might have been brought up that my family freaks out when things are uncertain, right? That may just have been my conditioned way of growing up. So maybe my first response is, oh, Michelle asked me to look at my uncertainty index and it's a 8, and then that causes thoughts that might produce a mindset that is panic. But
Right.
what I hear you saying is there's an opportunity, right? So
Yep.
say a little more like that. Let's say that, let's just say that's my situation. I look like you asked me to. It's an 8. I freak out. My first thought. How do I choose a different mindset?
Well, the first one is exactly what you just said. It's that sort of awareness of the fact that those thoughts are flowing through the mind and they're showing up in a certain, let's say, habitual pattern. Um, and that we have the opportunity to stop for a moment and realize that when fear is gripping us, this is the moment. It's like a little mantra. You almost have to remind yourself is that when we're in the grips of fear, that our body is doing something amazing and really helpful when a saber-toothed tiger or a bear is right around the corner. And believe me, I don't want to shut that off because, man, if I was in the park, in a national park and something like that showed up, I want to be ready, right? But what happens is our frame of mind begins to narrow, because usually when fight or flight is activated, we only have seconds to react.
Oh.
Okay, so what happens is your mind begins to limit the number of options you will consider
Oh.
moving forward. And not every situation requires an immediate reaction. So our first, response when fight or flight gets hit is to react with a limited number of options because you want to move and you want to move fast. But in these times when we're staying at home and we're dealing with uncertainty coming and we're dealing with the pressures that are coming, this isn't the time to sort of just jump at the first thing that pops into your head, especially the habitual one, because we're in an unprecedented time for not only experiencing a higher index for uncertainty, but also getting creative and innovative and working in a way that, we can soothe ourselves through this process, of course. I'm not saying that that isn't an important thing to do, to create some structure, to create some certainty in our lives. But what an unprecedented time to also embrace the uncertainty and generate some change, right? Do your routines a little bit differently. Think about that situation a little differently. Get with other people to help you generate more options, because your first thoughts are going to be limited in the number of options. And oftentimes, when you can speak to other people, you can generate other options. And if you're really by yourself, just look at the internet and how creative people are with coming up with all sorts of different ideas and options for us all to navigate this. So,
Michelle, I love this conversation. And I am struck again. I knew this before, but I'm all of a sudden I'm struck again that you are someone who, because you've worked in innovation and now you're studying uncertainty, I love what you're bringing to both of them. I'm of course meditation coach and coach, high performance coach.
right.
Obviously, all puts together this really unique blend that I think it's serving all of us, that you can bring us these different ways of looking at it. And I want to encourage people to really take what you just said and think about that those first thoughts, are they're going to probably be limiting. They're probably going to come from that fear place. That's okay.
Okay,
Acknowledge
it's
that.
information.
But I'm going to add in my own little thing here,
Please,
since you are a meditation teacher, right? That
please.
to get quiet, right? So to allow ourselves a little bit of space and quiet, that we don't have to. I mean, this is what I do. Then my own, is that I notice that's all coming in. Maybe my nervous system is all like ratcheted up, but then I can meditate, or I can take a walk outside, or I can just do whatever I can to calm the nervous system so that it feels. Because I do feel like almost literally like things open up again, right?
It's a fantastic space for things to open up in, for sure. The shower, right?
Oh, for
How
sure.
many amazing ideas come in the shower, right?
Yeah.
Because actually, it's sort of a counter to that fight and flight response being activated. It soothes and then allows for your awareness to open up. It's like this window of awareness that you have to allow to open up, and just be okay with yourself when it's like razor thin, right? And I have had these days, believe me, um,
Yes.
the last couple of years, and especially the last couple of months, have been just wrought with, so much uncertainty. And I have my good days and my bad days too. I'm learning and navigating through this as well. So.
And that was beautiful. What you just said is to be gentle with ourselves when it feels like, when we're in that emotion, and that particularly, like for me, panic and fear, they don't allow for very much, right? There's this, like you said, it's razor thin, the
It can be.
so
It can
so
be.
but to really be gentle with ourselves in those spaces. And you had said a few minutes ago, can you reach out, right? Maybe there's a friend you can reach out to, which is another really beautiful way to open up what's going on for us, right? We just reach out to someone who might have a bigger perspective. They might have known us for a while and they understand what we're going through and can hold that space for us and then maybe open it up gently.
Yeah, and I think it's so powerful, and just sort of looping back to what you said about, my background in innovation. And so I've spent my career on the leading edge of innovation in
Wow.
computers, computer technology, networking,
Mm.
imaging. And one of the things that I've come to learn as a truth about innovation is that, innovation and creativity are the hallmarks of, like, when there's a challenge or when there's uncertainty or when there's sort of a really tough problem to solve. And without that, it doesn't happen, right? We're kind of status quo machines. And the other thing is that, my CEO, Phil McKinney, who is a great author on innovation as well, just want to give him a shout out. He's fantastic. He wrote the book Beyond the Obvious.
Huh.
One of the things that he always teaches is that innovation is a team sport. That the myth of innovation is that ideas rarely come, just by one individual, and it's a fully formed idea. I think this can be true, especially when we're dealing with the highest levels of uncertainty that we also have the highest stakes. See,
Yeah.
sometimes we can have uncertainty and the stakes are low. Like, again, maybe that lottery ticket that, if we don't win, it's not as disappointing, right? We
Right.
spent $1 on
Right.
it. So maybe the stakes feel a little bit lower. But what if the stakes are really high and the uncertainty index is really high on a particular situation? Those are the times when you really want to be reaching out to other people that at least give you a sounding board, or at least give you the ability to generate at least 3 more options than you might have thought of. And maybe you don't go with those 3 options. You still go with your gut, maybe
Yeah.
with an option or that information you first received. But guess what? I wouldn't want to miss those 3 options, because you never know, down the line, you might need that solution later.
Oh,
So
wow.
when we approach innovation, when we approach uncertainty, just know that as we practice our response to uncertainty, we have the option to keep developing ideation, keep developing options that serve us now, or serve us in the future, or serve somebody else,
Mhm.
who is in a little bit different situation, and
Yeah.
they may need the option. I think one of the things is when we can get into an honest, authentic dialogue about uncertainty and reach out, support each other, and ideate and help each other. We don't know what the ripple effect's going to be of that in this moment, or with this person, or others in the future.
Wow, Michelle, this is so beautiful. I mean, the thing that jumped into my mind is a simple, thing that I think a lot of people are experiencing right now, which is innovation in the way that we connect to the people we love, right? That's right, where we're not able to connect in the way that we're used to, so we're innovating. And, for me, it's been one of those, like, duh. Like, I've been, we've been having game nights with my nieces and with some other family members, of course, via Zoom, and then some game, online games that we used to have play as board games. But I've been thinking, like, we could have been doing this for years, like it now, even, hopefully this will all be over and I'll be seeing them in person. But I only see them a couple times a year. And now I'm certain we'll keep this up, right? Like,
I love it. What's the last game you played? I'm just curious. I
oh,
want to know.
we
What was it?
love a game called Code Names. Do you know that game?
I heard about it. I haven't tried it yet.
Oh,
Oh,
code names,
code
and
names.
unfortunately the online version I think is not legal. So sorry to have to, like, put the, because I don't think it's their official, but somebody put a lot of trouble into making it, and bless their hearts, right? Because it's a board game we play a lot at my mom's house when we're all gathered physically, and
Okay.
so we
Is
were.
it like is it like Mastermind where you guess what the code name, what the codes are?
Oh,
Or?
let me see if I can say it really fast because it's a great game and I want people to play it. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So you have a board of, say, like 25 words, I think, and it might be dog, Minnesota, crystal, just random words. And the people who are spy masters own, they might own half of those words, and the other's team owns the other half. But the people who are guessing don't know who owns what words. And
Oh, interesting.
so
Okay.
I'm trying to give a clue that will sort of encapsulate as many of my words as possible
Ooh.
without, it overlapping with the other team's words, which they often do, so it's a very, for people who love words and vocabulary, and also I think you'd love it because you have to be really innovative, right, in the way that you describe something.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for that
I
tip.
know.
I really appreciate it. And there, I, I think this is a really good subject. Not to like minimize the kind of pain and suffering that's going on, and I definitely want to loop back and deal with some of that
Yes.
uncertainty. But as a way of sort of seizing the moment in all this horrificness, to reconnect with people, like you just said, in ways that we've never done before, and play with it, get a little playful. One of the things that we've been doing is having the virtual happy hour. Sometimes,
Mm.
it involves wine, sometimes it doesn't. It's fine. And then also, playing games online with our kids through like House Party. Guac and chips. See, we love apples to apples.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah, and they have something called Guac and Chips, which is similar, and they've got like
Oh,
a drawing game, and my daughter's an artist, and we let our adult children kind of lead, like have them suggest what we do.
yeah.
It's been a really fun time to sort of course, have those serious dialogue with our adult children and how they're navigating it. Because my son is in the Bay Area still. He even contracted presumptive COVID. And so we definitely had some serious times, but now that he's through the worst of it, now we're embracing the play, right? Even more. And that's helping him recover, right?
Yes. Oh, yes, Michelle. I'm actually I mean, I didn't know we were going to go here in our conversation, but
It's
I'm glad
okay. It's part of my truth, right?
right?
I've been dealing with a lot of uncertainty in my life, which gives me a little perspective, but ultimately I just hope that it inspires others to figure out how they deal with uncertainty, and could they deal with it a little bit with a little bit more grit or a little more grace.
Right. I love that. And yeah, so what I was going to say is, to me, in my own experience, play and laughter plays a really large role in uncertainty. And
Mm,
so you're right. Like I too do not ever want to sort of like disregard what's going on. I mean, there's a horrific amount of death and illness and grief
yep.
and lots of jobs. I mean, but
Yep.
and in the midst of that, I think a lot of human beings, laughter is a way that we do take care of ourselves. It's a part of the self care. And in fact, when we were just that, so when we play the games, we're on Zoom and then we're playing the game over here.
Yeah.
And people are playing around with their backgrounds on Zoom and they're making, they're uploading funny pictures and
Yep.
constantly, right. And
It's
they're putting on hats and they're bringing props and
yeah.
all of that. Like after we got off the other night, we all said like, we needed to laugh.
We needed to laugh. It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true. And isn't it interesting that laughter, the reason we laugh is because we experience, let's say, either awe or sort of surprise, or
Mm.
and something unexpected occurs that delights us. So
Oh,
we laugh. It is part and parcel to
wow.
uncertainty. This is the part of uncertainty that is so important, and that we build our relationship with uncertainty in such a healthy way.
This is so great. I've never thought of that. You're right. Like the best, right? The best laughter, the real authentic laughter usually is a surprise, right? We're like,
Correct.
oh, Michelle. Oh, I could talk to you forever about this. I can't believe our time is up, but
Oh,
wow,
what? I just blinked. What?
I know, right? So many good things in here, though.
Oh,
I have the feeling we'll keep talking about this, and you've got a lot to say.
would
But
be my delight. Absolutely.
as we're closing out, I know there's probably some other things that are, top of your mind right now. Is there something that feels really important to share before we end?
Oh, gosh, important. Well, I think that my truth about uncertainty is that it's not the worst thing in the world.
Mm,
But at the same time, even if you are experiencing the worst thing in the world, allow that frame of reference to open up and please reach out and connect with others because we are going to be able to get through this at the end of the day, and that this is the opportunity for us to earn the learning that we need to earn the success, the future success we're going to have, because this isn't the only problem that's sort of facing us as humanity. There are even bigger problems, and we don't necessarily need to go back to the old normal. I would rather be part of a collective that's building the new normal,
ooh,
to take what's come out of the truth of this situation and the fact that the air is cleaner, the earth isn't shaking as much, people are more connected than ever, that we are doing our best to save as many lives as possible as each one of us stay home, as to support and help those that if loss is happening, and believe me, I've had my own losses associated with this of dear friends. I just, hope that we can come together as a greater humanity moving forward as we, navigate this uncertainty,
wow.
and just stay with it. We can get through this.
Mhm. Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you.
And keep listening to Sherry because, boy, she's getting some really interesting people on. And I love that you find the celebration even in these tough times.
Oh, Michelle, thank you. Thank you. How could I not, though, right? Because part of it is celebrating these wonderful people like you
Oh,
who
thank
are
you.
who are really finding ways, exactly everything you said, to open up and to see things in a bigger way, because we need that. We do need that. And that to me is a celebration, right? So thank
Yeah.
you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. This was great.
Yeah, such a pleasure. So
Appreciate
fun.
it.